We've had 2 days of practice. For those that were unaware, we were able to start on Friday, given how the NCAA rules are applied to backing up from our first game, which is November 11th, back 42 days. So we have 30 days in that 42-day window to practice, and used one on Friday and one on Saturday, and we're able to get a solid base of what we've been working on all fall. Obviously, drills that they were very familiar with, a lot of footwork drills, a lot of things individually and small group defensively, and then just continue to work on skill sets as we have all summer and all fall. But excited to get them back in the gym. I know they were eager to get back into a full-fledged practice, and we obviously, as you know, we changed the hill to the Bascom Hill this fall, and I thought that went really well. So they've definitely done the right things up to this point in terms of preparation, and now as we go through the fall, it'll be one day at a time, trying to take a step forward as we go deeper into practice and then prepare for what comes later this month.
Take questions. Got mics on either side.
Not all at once.
Greg, I think you've been addressed or asked this topic on some radio interviews about just Bronson and Nigel and their awareness of some things outside of basketball. And what do you think is the best possible outcome for them to be so active, for them as individuals, for the team, and people who follow the team?
Well, I think the first thing is you have to applaud them for bringing awareness to both situations, and obviously the depth of their knowledge and their intellect in both of those areas really has helped me. I've learned a lot more, and I've talked to them both about it, both individually and as a team, and I really applaud them for what they've done and the stance they've taken. We've obviously supported them in two different issues that everything with the Black Lives Matter and that platform obviously has a ton of national attention, and rightfully so, but there's not as much attention given to the Dakota Pipeline and that scenario. So I think they're using college for what it should be used for. You try to better yourself, you try to educate yourself, you expand your horizons, and the one thing that we've just talked to them about is just be cautious, understand ramifications in tomorrow, and understand them in 6 weeks and 6 months, and is how it all plays out. So like I said, I commend them for how they've grown, how they've matured. They understand and have really grasped the whole idea of student athlete, and they have obviously shown, we've always known it, but they're way more than just a basketball player, and I think that has shown through with their actions and statements that they've made here, not only by what they've said but also by what they've done, their actions that they've followed up a little bit more with trying to make a difference.
Greg, in your first preseason as the head coach, how much did you want to change or tweak things up compared to how things were typically done around here, if at all?
Well, I put together through the off season, I was able to find every single practice from pretty much the early or mid 1990s on, either note cards or in a binder somewhere, and I was able to combine all those into practice 1, practice 2, so forth, all the way up to, I think, practice 28 is about the time we stopped really laying those out possession by possession or slot by slot, so to speak. So I put all those together along with all the drills and just kind of did an overview of what was the constants every year. And I've tweaked a few things, but primarily it remains the same. The game hasn't changed a whole lot. You still have to be very good defensively, specifically in this league, and you have to be able to take care of the ball. So there's been two things that have really been focused on, is our ability to reduce turnovers and improve our skill area that way. And then also everything defensively. We've done a lot of work on footwork, a lot of work on closeouts, really trying to help people improve angles and spacing and their ability to close on the ball faster. So those have been the primary things that you really lay down a base first, and then as we go through the next, we'll have another 28 days between exhibition game, close scrimmage, red-white game, that we'll be able to use before we hit November 11th. So it'll be an ongoing process, and we'll use those two practices will be used in as far as today, part of today, with the film session. So we'll get to break down practice from Friday and Saturday. They'll see some things that went well and some things that we have to get better at, and we'll build and go forward today.
Greg, I think last year, because of their experience in postseason play and their positions, Nigel and Bronson were expected to lead that group from early on. As the season played out from start to finish, what do you think they learned about themselves as leaders and what was required to help lead a team?
Well, I think the first thing that they learned, as many of our best leaders have learned here or have done, is that a lot of your leading can be done without saying much, and your performance can really be your biggest statement. So hopefully they've learned that their production and how they play and how they practice can be the loudest words they need to say. So I think that's been the biggest thing that I've seen them take steps forward in. Their habits consistently have improved, and they become better. And I think they did a very good job at the end as that team grew tighter, as we talked about many times, that for as much as they improved on the court, I saw tenfold that in the locker room in terms of the chemistry and how that culture really grew and benefited from that experience. So I think the thing you keep in mind is that you understand why things didn't go well last year and how we grew and trusted the process along the way and continue to get better. And we have to do the same thing. We can't bypass any of those steps along the way. We have to check every box, as I've said a few times to them, and understand that it is a step-by-step process. We can't fast forward out of October and think we're going to land in February sometime and not have to put in the time and do the right things along the way to make whatever comes down the road a possibility.
Brian?
Greg, how do you embrace the expectations surrounding your program this year?
You embrace it, you understand it. I don't hide from it. We've talked about it even with the team, but they understand also, as I just mentioned, that it will be a step-by-step process. It doesn't mean that I structure practices any easier or any differently. It'll still be, today it'll be closeouts and taking away gaps, and we'll put in ball screen defense today, so that'll be, it's day 3. It's typically how we've gone through a progression, and each day this week will be a screening situation. So we'll grow and put it all together. We've done a little bit more we started with a lot of 1-on-1 in the fall, 2-on-2, and we've slowly built to more 3-on-3 and 4-on-4, and they haven't played 5-on-5 yet. So we will get to that point as we continue to follow the progression. But they understand that. I think that's the nice thing about having that experience and that leadership back. They knew what didn't go well last year and how we were able to resurrect that and get back on the right track, and they understand how important that is as we go forward.
Jeff?
Greg, there's a couple new faces, not new to you, obviously, Van Vliet and Pritzel. What are rudimentary expectations for those guys early in the season, how you might be able to incorporate them into the team?
Well, I think in Brevin's case, it's a matter of he missed a whole year. I mean, really, he didn't practice very much. He broke it the first time in August, and then was back, about a week before the Syracuse game, and broke it again the night before. So he really didn't get any of the repetitions, any of the drill work, and you can tell. You can tell by the rustiness in certain areas, and it's gotten better progressively through the fall. In Andy's case, I think you're looking at how he can adjust to the physicality of the game and how he can become more consistent now that he's into year 2 and he's had, what was kind of like a redshirt year, but kind of was not, in how his eligibility clock ran. But just understanding from his standpoint how consistent you have to be every single day. You have to practice well every day. It just doesn't happen on game night. So for both of those guys to be able to kind of find their niche and work their way along and understand, it's with both of them, I've had to remind them, don't get frustrated. Stick with it. There's going to be days when you look like $1 million, and there's days when you look like a nickel. So you just have to understand that it's trust this, keep working through it, don't get discouraged, stay competitive, but don't get discouraged by it. And I've seen progression with both of them through the fall. I thought Andy really has practiced well in the 2 days so far, but obviously it's early, and we'll see as we continue to grow and progress. But they're both, I think, on the right track. They're just in a little different spots and trying to jump different hurdles right now.
Greg, when you were in college like Bronson and Nigel, did your awareness expand outside of basketball and everything else like they are? They're obviously, I think, aware of a lot more than just what they're doing here.
No, and I don't think we had quite the social issues that are going on right now. There wasn't social media, so that the exposure to that, even if it was happening, You weren't maybe aware of it as immediately as you are now. But I think for both of them, specifically with Bronson, because we were involved so early with his recruitment and started as a freshman in high school, from where he's come from that point to where he is now, and I'm talking well beyond the game of basketball. He's obviously improved immensely as a player, but how he's grown as a person and now his view of the world and understanding of things, it's why you do this. It's why as a coach you try to help people grow through this point in time in their life. But where he's come from then until now is, I'm extremely proud. Of he wouldn't have understood what that was all about, and would have had that knowledge base. And he's really researched it and is very knowledgeable when you talk to him about it, what's important to him and his nationality. And I think you just applaud that, and it shows a kid that's grown up. He's matured. And Nigel's the same way. I mean, obviously Nigel's as intellectual and intelligent as any player I've been around, and he has a very worldly view, well beyond his years. So with both of them, you just stand behind them, help them any way you can, try to guide them, mentor them, and continue to support them along with their teammates.
Brian?
Greg, the brain cancer awareness game on October 30th, that'll be a special event, I'm sure, and emotional at the same time.
Yeah, I think we're going to get to that a little bit later here today. But yeah, we'll be able to get into the detail of the origination and everything of that. You must be reading the thing Patrick passed out, right? Okay. I don't want to steal his thunder since he's set this all up.
Greg, is there any avenue through which Andy could get that year back?
Potentially. It would have to probably happen on the back end at the end of his 3 years. So that's something that we'll discuss as we go forward with our compliance department and the channels. We'd have to run it through the Big Ten office and then up to the NCAA office. But it's something that has been discussed, but we're not at a point where we can move forward with any type of appeal like that yet.